going on, guys? Still be taking a look at this iPad Air case from Okeyn. This is a case very oriented towards kids. So if you have an iPad Air and you'd like your kids to use it without you having to worry about getting broken, then that is what this case is made for. It is a very, very large case and it really isn't practical for anything but use for kids. So if you would like to buy this case, either if you're super rich and your kid has his own iPad Air, or you'd like to buy it for your own iPad Air and you would like to use it whenever your kid is using your iPad Air, then of course that is what this is meant for. This is a nice little blue color. I don't think it comes in any other colors, but I could be wrong. This of course is compatible with the iPad Air or the iPad Air 2. So this is just the packaging that it comes in. We have a nice little included screen protector, so if you don't already have one for your iPad Air, then you are able to use the one included in here. So I'll go ahead and get into the packaging here. You can just open this piece here, and this is what the case looks like. It is very thick and big and just kind of very pretty bulky foam. It's meant to be washable and you can spill things on it and all of that, and it won't damage your iPad Air just because of the case. And then we have a nice little handle for it, so if your child would like to carry around his iPad Air, then he won't have to actually carry it like this, and you can just kind of grab it from this handle. And it's a very nice, big, easy to hold handle, so probably will not drop it while it is inside of this case. You can also use this handle to prop up the case in your iPad while it is inside of the case. So to do that, you would simply push the handle down or up depending on which way you would like to use it as a stand, and then you are able to prop up your iPad and you may watch videos or something like that if it's at this angle, or if you would like to have it at an even more extreme angle, you can actually set your iPad up like this, and then you would be able to set it in front of your kid's high chair or something, so without having to touch the iPad they can be able to watch a movie or a TV show or something while they're eating lunch. This is the included screen guard in here. We won't use this because I already have a screen protector on my iPad Air, but if you would like to use it and you don't already have one, then you could probably use this one. It's not a glass screen protector or anything, it's just a regular screen protector, so it's not super nice, but nicer than nothing. So to actually put the iPad Air in here, you have to peel off from all around the side to get this black plastic piece off. And once you do that, then there will be room for your iPad Air. And once you have this piece out, then you can go ahead and take your iPad Air and you'll go ahead and put it in just like this. So it really doesn't matter how you put it in, but you can kind of push it in from the side here. Alright, so this is what the case actually looks like once it is on your iPad. One thing to mention is this is the hardest case I've ever had to put on an iPad Air, or any iPad in general, probably any phone as well, so it is a very big downside, is that I personally think you'd be constantly swapping this case on and off of your iPad because you are going to give your iPad to your kid, and so you'll put this case on so your kid can use it, and then he'll play with it and you'll take it off and put your regular case back on when you're using it. That is probably not an option unless you want to devote a solid 5 minutes to getting this case on every time. This case is pretty frustrating and very difficult to get on your iPad, which is definitely not a good thing. However, it will also not come off of your iPad very easily, so if you're holding it by this handle and shaking it and whatnot, then it won't come off of your iPad, which is a good thing. But if you would like to get it on your iPad quickly, then that is not an option. So this is just of course what it looks like when it is on your iPad. It definitely has a nice lay on the table design in the sense that this piece comes up above your iPad screen, so if you were to drop it pretty hard, it still wouldn't break. There's of course a nice little handle for carrying this, so if you like to hold it like this and carry it around, I can just see a little kid walking up the stairs holding this by the handle and swinging it and whatnot, then you won't have any problems with it breaking because this is a pretty tough foam material that goes all over the iPad. And as you can see on the bottom here, there's a nice little cutout for this, so if you would like to charge it, then you'll have to lift up this little flap, but this flap isn't very difficult to open compared to other ones. Once you do open it, there's a pretty nice little opening for your charging port, and there's a decent little opening for our speaker cutouts, and children love to watch movies and stuff, so you will be able to hear what you're watching pretty easily even with this case on, which is a pretty thick foam case, but because of these cutouts you won't have any problems with sound. Because of the design of this case, it will offer a ton of protection to your iPad because it's just a giant foam case rather than having a logical sized case or something that wouldn't add much protection, but it would look a lot nicer. They just kind of went for a protection over look sort of design, and it is made for kids, so that makes a lot of sense. And the nice blue color looks nice for if your kid's using it and all of that, and it will just add a bunch of protection. The sides are also all kind of grippy, so if you are holding this case rather than using the handle or something, just because of the design of the sides, you still won't have any problems with dropping it, I would assume. Especially if your hands are wet or something, you would still be able to use this case and not drop it because of the design of the sides here. On the back of the iPad here we have a very large cutout for our camera, and our sleep wake button is a little bit difficult to get to, as you can see, but it's not too bad. I mean, if you just push it like this you can, but if you are trying to access it from the front or something, then you will not be able to do that just because of the design of this case. So overall, the only downside to this case, other than it being large and all that, but it is made for kids, so I'm not going to count that as a downside. Anyway, the only downside is how difficult it is to get on and off of your iPad. It's extremely difficult. As I said, the most difficult case I've ever had to put on an iPad, which is definitely a very big downside, as I have said, because just you're supposed to be using this case to constantly be putting on and off your iPad, and that will not be possible with this case. As for using this case with kids, it is definitely probably one of the better cases you can use with kids. I mean, I'd probably go with something like an OtterBox over this, because you can leave the OtterBox case on your iPad constantly. This is one you will most likely have to swap on and off unless you are really tolerant with a pretty funny looking large case. If you bring this into a meeting or something, people might look at you funny.